The future belongs to those who believe in the power and beauty of their dreams. This is a modified quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. Some of you may be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but what does this have to do with me? How do I carve out my dreams and create a future when the world is evolving at lightning speed? Well, it's not big businesses or policymakers that will lead the way. No, the future belongs to those who are nimble, agile, and can ingest the rate of change. These are the folks that will most likely excel, influence the future, realize their dreams. The high velocity of change demands that we reinvent, collaborate, and reimagine. A dream of mine is reimagining advertising. Advertising is a ubiquitous cultural institution of extreme importance. It has tremendous impact on our economy and resources. This year alone, advertising is expected to generate over $217 billion. In 2014, advertising contributed $3.4 trillion to the gross domestic product, 20 million jobs, and supported another 680 million jobs across industry. Within culture, advertising conveys messaging and imagery that uphold social standards, values, concepts of normalcy. The average American is exposed to over 3,000 ads daily. Some scholars contend that advertising is the most powerful form of education in society and has more influence than church, schools, or government. As an insider, with over a decade of experience working in the advertising industry and a lover of advertising, I want to share a secret with you that's hidden in plain sight. Advertising, this huge and powerful institution, as quiet as it's kept, is on the verge of a revolution, meaning it's malleable and highly susceptible to influence and change. This creates an opportunity for us to redefine one of the world's most powerful institutions. How do we do this? How do we redefine advertising? Together, through CSR models and shifts in consumer responsibility and expectations. Some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but I've heard this before. This is different, I promise. What's different about this is that you are the hero. You, me, the modern consumer. You who are nimble, agile, resourceful, migratory, and have been so for years. We already have the power to create positive change. Now it's time for us to create the vision. Let's call this the Glorious Revolution. Glorious Revolution is a term coined in the 1600s, used to denote a revolution that's characterized by minimal upheaval, pathways to progress, and collaboration. I charge that we can create our own glorious revolution right now. A revolution in which consumers shape, shift, and influence corporate social responsibility models in advertising to improve communities, create global connections, and reimagine the world. Let's chat a bit about modern consumers. Modern consumers are demanding, empowered, savvy, dynamic, paradoxical. Modern consumers know what they want, and they usually get it. Let's face it, if it's one thing we as Americans know how to do, is consume. We know how to price match, check reviews online before purchasing, possibly write our own reviews. We know how to be loyal to brands, disloyal to others, call customer service, engage with brands online. Modern consumers have been even more empowered by media and technology. The modern consumer landscape has changed dramatically, and advertisers have begun to take notice. Women, communities of color, millennials are helping to shape and influence the modern consumer landscape. Gender, culture, lifestyle, ethnicity, age, ever-changing and highly influential characteristics. Latinos, African Americans, Asians, and women now comprise 84% of advertising's key audience, which is totally different than previous general markets that were largely comprised of older white men. Advertisers have realized that they have to adjust in order to survive. Modern consumers are savvy, and they use their voice to get results. In a precedent-setting event known as Motrin Moms, Johnson & Johnson tried to connect with modern consumers through a campaign for Motrin that focused on how carrying babies can cause moms pain and backaches. Instead, it offended consumers. Critics charged that the campaign implied that moms carry babies as fashion accessories. Moms were offended. By the thousands, they took to social media to voice their opinions and boycott the brand. Popular bloggers then collected the information, compiled it, and posted it as videos on YouTube. In 2 days, the campaign was removed and an apology was issued. The demise of the Motrin campaign demonstrated the impact of viral content and the power and influence of modern consumers. Nearly a decade later, people care even more than before. Earlier this year, Shea Moisture, a popular beauty brand that gained popularity through its usage by and targeting to African American women, released a campaign where women talked about their struggles with confidence as it relates to hair care. However, 3 of the 4 women featured in the campaign were Caucasian. African American women, their loyal consumer audience, were outraged and confused by the change of direction in the campaign. Consumers went to social media to share their concerns, feelings of betrayal, and to discuss the lack of cultural awareness. In a matter of hours, the topic was trending on Twitter. Subsequently, Shea Moisture issued an apology, removed the campaign, and even directly contacted African American influencers and bloggers in order to reconcile and gain further insights. Unfortunately for the brand, many of its loyal consumers had now moved on to something else. Today, about 57% of consumers will boycott a brand that doesn't share their social beliefs. So, modern consumers are adept at using their voice. Modern consumers are adept at issuing compelling cease and desist. But what more can be accomplished through collective? Here is where redefining CSR comes in. When exploring corporate social responsibility, or CSR for short, we look at 2 main questions. Why do businesses exist, and what contribution should business make to society? When exploring this relationship, it's important to understand the view between business, society, and culture. In traditional views, the sole purpose of business is the maximization of profits for shareholders within legal and ethical frameworks. Simply put, the business of business is business. In this free market approach, business is not concerned with society or culture. However, I argue that the interdependence of business and society make one virtually impossible to extract from the other. We can satisfy the needs of shareholders and wider communities. Let's embrace conceptualizations of businesses as partners rather than suppliers. Let's talk about contribution, not compliance. Reimagining advertising requires contemplation of CSR models that create systematic change and shifts in institutional structures. This is an incredibly malleable time. Due to benefits surrounding tax relief, employee retention, consumer demands, CSR has become an incredibly important objective. This opportunity to reimagine is awesome because it creates new roles for key players. The most notable key player is you, the modern consumer. In our reimagining, success does not have to rely solely on maximizing profits. There are also a few other points I'd like to clarify. Here are my top 3. CSR is for everyone. CSR is integrity, not charity. And CSR is profitable. It's largely assumed that CSR is for Fortune 500 companies. This is wrong. This is a problem. Focusing CSR on Fortune 500 companies is limiting. Entrepreneurs are essential to the economy as well, as they help create social change and develop local communities. Moreover, over 70% of Americans are employed by small businesses. A conglomeration that's getting CSR right is Unilever. Their initiatives have improved nutrition for customers, enhanced the livelihoods of farmers, and instituted fairness in the workplace. Saudia Davis founded Greenhouse Eco Cleaning in honor of her grandmother. Not only is this award-winning company committed to the sole use of organic and environmentally friendly products, but also to employing women from low-income communities, providing them with fair wages, resources, and financial literacy education. Robert F. Smith, entrepreneur and billionaire, is committed to CSR as well. His business ventures are committed to connecting young people with outdoor activities, providing knowledge and access to parks, and protecting the environment. Moving forward, it's important that CSR is centrally located within the core practices of businesses. It's not a charitable afterthought to comply with marketing-driven trends and campaigns. Broadly speaking, CSR extends to three main categories: quality goods and services, the environment, and well-being. Companies that treat their employees better tend to do better. This seems obvious, but not obvious to companies where CSR is not centrally located. Traditional views think this approach is expensive, and money given to employees is money taken away from shareholders. However, research affirms that the best companies to work for deliver returns that beat their competition. So, it's confirmed. CSR is profitable. CSR contributes to innovation, sustainability, long-term growth and productivity. Shareholders and investors can get on board. And brands are eager to meet the demands of new consumers and modern consumers, create long-lasting relationships, establish loyalty. All of this suggests a new way of thinking, an emerging advertising revolution. So, what's your vision? What are your expectations of the brands you patronize? Have you developed a consumer social responsibility model? Do you insist on quality, fairness, inclusivity? Now more than ever, brands are eager to meet your expectations, your demands. Have you asked yourself? Changes in advertising can change the world. You have the opportunity to affect major issues such as identity construction, media representation, hiring, diversity and inclusion, any cause you care about. So, what do you care about? Have you asked yourself, why do businesses exist? Do you believe that businesses exist to serve a purpose, serve communities, and enrich the lives of their employees and customers? Let's create a vision for what advertising could be, rather than what it is. And in this vision, ask yourself right now what you can do to contribute. Activist and author James Baldwin compels us to know that the time is always now. Communities are engaged, brands are eager. Media and technology have created unprecedented pathways of collaboration, and CSR models are malleable. Indeed, the ground is fertile for a glorious revolution in advertising. Thank you.